I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I topped off the brake fluid the other week from being empty, and that's where the level is right now. It's settled in there. Could use a little more. So basically it's just been gravity bleeding. I haven't done a regular bleed on it yet. So at this point I'll just go ahead and top it off and close it back up and get to work on the other parts, and we'll see how it settles in. Okay, I got the brake fluid level topped off for now, but next part of the project, oh, you could look at how the Kickstarter is on there. You can see it's not all the way on the shaft, it's mostly off the shaft. Yeah, whoever installed it missed out when they did it. This bolt, you have to remove it completely, slide it over. You'll have the open part of the shaft where the bolt will just slide straight through, and then you tighten it down. This way, as long as the bolt's on there, even if it's loose, there's no way the Kickstarter is going to fall off. So we'll have to remedy that. This is part of the kickstart shaft I was talking about. You see the cutout portion. That's where the bolt's going to slide through once you get the Kickstarter positioned properly. So now the Kickstarter is positioned properly and the bolt's going through the cutout to properly tighten it down. Luckily the bolt wasn't messed up too much, or the sprine's messed up by someone trying to tighten them on the wrong spot. So next thing is the seat latch, which works, but the latch is too far. Oh, needs an adjustment. I think I need to slide it forward a bit, and there is enough adjustment on the latch mounting to position it to get it to lock properly. I think I might need to slide it forward or back a little bit. We'll find out here. Alrighty, I slid that latch part forward as far as it goes. I think that's the right spot for it now. So I'm gonna let the seat loose here off its prop. Come on down. Push down. Lift up, the seat is locked in place. Turn of the key, and she pops open. So, we've got her. Oh, this bike's got it's got the spark plug holder case that comes with them. Nice to see that's on here instead of having to chase it down. So that's another bit down. Figure out what's next. Okay, next part of the project. Rick Brett from the Kawasaki Triples group spotted this. These are the upper engine mount bolts. He spotted this and said that I need to reverse them so these bolt heads are on the left side of the motor. Otherwise, the ignition case cover can or will crack. And when I did look on the other side, you see the threads from one of the bolts touching the cover. So we're going to have to spin those bolts around. So here on the left side of the bike, you can see that bolt. That's the upper bolt. It's barely clearing the case cover. I really can't see how the bottom one is, so what I'm going to do is remove the ignition cover, take a look and see what we got, and hopefully maybe we can reverse those bolts without much major disassembly. Wish us luck. One thing I like doing when removing bolts, like this one looks like I've only got 3, is to lay them out in the pattern that they are on the case or whatever part you're taking them off of. That way you can just look and see where they're at. Looks like two of the Allen bolts are the same length, and the rearmost one is the long one. This is the ignition cover that I just took them off, and you can see up here on the upper hole, you just had a ground strap over there, so make sure we get that back in place. So with the ignition cover off, that gives us clear access to the upper and lower bolts, the nuts on this side. So these are 17, that was a 17 mil, yep. And then on the other side, they're 14s. So that's gonna work out nice. After I get that done, just clean off some of the junk down here. Just excess lube. And some pine needles. We'll clean that off before I put it back together. But thankfully, we are good. And no crack on the ignition cover. Yes, aluminum. Made in Japan. All right, got those bolts spun around. This is the left side of the motor now. And let's go to the right side. Just do them one at a time, loosen them up, pull it out, slide it back in the other side, snug it down, then do the other side. Get them both on and then just snug them down. Nice. Now I just gotta clean up under that ignition cover by the countershaft sprocket a bit before I put the cover back on. It's a good time to clean when you got things apart. Alrighty, everything's buttoned back up. Got the ignition case cover back on. And there's that bolt. Yeah, you can take a look here. There's a lot more clearance to that case cover for both the bolts. The other bolt sits lower. I don't think that was a problem, but either way, there's more clearance now. I cleaned up there behind by the counter shaft and all that before I put this all back on. And since I had the 5mm Allen head T-handle out, just touched up all the other 5mm bolts, make sure we don't lose anything. So next, right here, just got to put this boot back on. Almost there. Alrighty, got that boot on, and basically everything on my preliminary list for going over this bike before we get her started to test her out has been done. So all we need now is need to pick up a battery for her, put some fuel in the tank, and hopefully I don't have a fuel leak. Check that out, and then fire her up and give her a test run. Well, this is the last thing I'm doing tonight on this bike. Oh, spark was a bit weak. I checked it, so I checked the air gap to the signal coils, the rotors. A little more light on there. You know, on this bike, the H1F, it's supposed to be 20 to 30 thousandths for minimum gap. And on both signal coils, it was a lot less than that. I had to loosen them up. Hopefully that helps. I just set the timing alignment marks, and that all looks good. So timing-wise, I should be good, and hopefully getting the proper air gap, big enough of a gap, will help my spark out, help this thing fire up. Well, see if that's the last I do tonight. Call it a day. It's been a long day.